Hey guys, John here from hydroempire.com with a really important subject. Everybody always asks me, how do I get a better yield? How do I become a better grower? And everybody asks me, what's the perfect bottle? What's the answer in a bottle? And there is no such thing. You know what it really comes down to is your environment. And everybody is gonna need to know what your environment is, what your temperature and your humidity is at all times. Without a perfect environment, you can't get a great yield. You can have the perfect nutrient schedule, you can have the perfect system, and have a poor environment, you're gonna get a poor yield. If you have the perfect environment with a decent feeding schedule and a decent system, you're gonna get a great yield, much better than you would expect. And that's where it really comes into play of how and what you're gonna do. In a perfect grow room, you want to keep your temperatures within 5 degrees. From 68 to 73 is my perfect environment. You don't want to get it too hot or too cold. You don't want to stress your plants out. When they're too hot, they get stressed. When they're too cold, they get stressed. Too hot, you're going to get airy, fluffy flowers. When it's too cold, you're going to get slow growth. So make sure you keep your target temperature. You also want to make sure that that temperature stays 24 hours a day. Lights on, lights off, winter, summer, no matter what you do, keep that 5-degree variance. And when it comes to humidity, you want to keep a 10% variance. From 45 to 55 is optimal. You know, you can go a little bit higher during your veg, you can go 50 to 60, but that's the maximum you want to go. You know, when your plants are too humid, when your room is too humid, your plants won't transpire. What I mean by transpire is they won't give off any of that moisture they're absorbing. Obviously, your plants absorb moisture from the roots, but about 80% of that water that they absorb isn't used by the plants. It's actually transpired into the environment. And that's why your room is so humid. And that's why it's so important to keep your humidity under control. So you want to keep your humidity between 45 and 55% all the time. Like I said about temperature, you want to keep it there from day and night, lights on, lights off, winter, summer, rain, snow, hailstorm, whatever it is. You want to keep your humidity at 10% variance. Let me repeat myself, and I can't stress it enough. I tell everybody, your environment is the key to your harvest. You can't have too high or too low of a temperature. You want to have a 5-degree variance between 68 and 72 degrees and a 10% humidity differential between 45 and 55%. And you can use a hygrometer like this one that we sell at hydroempire.com, and it can tell you your highs, your lows, and it also tells you what your readout is at the time. You know, another thing that's very important that a lot of people overlook is CO2. CO2 gives you the potential to double, triple, quadruple your yield if you don't have any. But in a normal world, we have 400 parts per million of CO2. In an optimal world, in a perfect garden, you're gonna have 1,500 parts per million of CO2. And that's the maximum a plant can absorb. All right, guys, I got a few pro tips for you. You want to keep your temperature within a 5-degree variance. That's from 68 to 73 degrees. In a perfect world, you want to do that night and day, morning to night, rain or shine. You also want to do that with humidity. You want to keep a 10% variance from 45% to 55%. And on top of all of those things, keep a CO2 ppm of 1500 at all times.